Hi, good morning folks. In this video we're going to look at Jeff Skinner's two big seasons in Buffalo because last year now counts as one of them. Let's compare, let's look at and break down the first big season when he was on our big line with Jack to last year coming up. All right, forgive me folks, I'm half awake, but I want to get on videos today and there's no better way to start than just to start. So this is something I've been wanting to do for about a week now, so I just slapped it together last night. What I want to do is I want to break down in 20 game segments what happened, where Skinner was hot, where he wasn't. It's really good to compare because if you're looking at last year and saying that was a really good comeback season, obviously we knew that was, but was it better in some areas is the question. You know, was it better? And I think it was, especially in one area. So we'll look at that in a sec. Okay, so let's break down the 2018-2019 season. And of course, right off the bat, you know, it was funny because I was hoping we would trade Ryan O'Reilly to get Skinner. I thought Skinner would be a good fit in Buffalo back then. And believe me, for about 2 years, I was regretting that thinking till this year again. I feel okay now about Skinner's contract now, at least. But Skinner, what he did this year, I don't know how many more years he can repeat a 30-goal season now that he's 30. We'll see. Some guys age very gracefully. Skinner could be one of them. He was drafted very young, don't forget also. Winning Rookie of the Year, I might add. Okay. First 20 games as a Buffalo Sabre, he comes in. And he gets 14 goals in his first 20 games with us, guys. 14 goals, 7 assists, 21 points. The Sabres are falling in love with this guy right away. And it's funny to look at that. The first 20 games was his whole output the year after this contract. The next year, he'd only get 14. Then between games 21 and 40, he had 12 goals, 6 assists for 18 points. Also, I'll mention the last column, it's the fourth column, in a second. 41 to 60, he had 10 goals, 5 assists for 15 points. So after 60 games, he had 36 goals. There was a chance we thought around here he was going to be a 50-goal guy, you might recall. Then we were thinking 40, you know, maybe. After here, you thought maybe 50. You know, around here is where I started thinking, okay, we could still hit 50, you know. But between 61 and 82, so that's a 22-game stretch. Down the stretch, he had 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points. Now, multi-goal games. In his first 20, he had 3. His second 20, he had 2. His third 20, he had 3 again. And his last 22 games, he only had 1. So he had 9 multi-goal games that season. Yes, the 2 seasons where he got 14 and 7 goals, not 1 multi-goal game, just so you know. There, that's a video done in itself. We don't want to look at that in a video. So he scored in 30 different games that year. He had 268 shots for 14.9%, which was one of the highest, I believe the highest of his career. Maybe his rookie year was higher. I know his rookie year he had a very high shooting percentage, but that might have topped it. I should have wrote that down. He had 32 even strength goals, 8 power play goals. Very even base of even strength goals. A lot of people thinks, I've seen a lot of people say, well, he got a lot of those 40 goals off Jack Eichel on the power play. Not true. He only had 8 power play goals. So only 1/5 of his goals were power play. The last 25 games, this is what I remember the most. Okay, he only scored in 3 games, getting 4 goals. The last game of the year, he had 2. Right, he had 2. And I remember I was upset because I wanted to finish at that point under Detroit since we were right there with them. And we went and beat them. I believe it was against Detroit, I believe. But anyway, in the last 25 games, he only scored in 3 games. And one of them was the last game of the year where he got 2 goals. So the 24 games before that, he only scored in 2 games a single goal. He crashed and burned. That should have been a 50-goal season. It really should have been the way he was going. But Skinner is streaky, as we know. So he finished that season 40 goals, 23 assists for 63 points. And if you look at this year, 33 goals, 30 assists, for 63 points. This year he did it in 2 less games. He only played 80, so I'm breaking it down into segments of 20 here again, okay? Now, the first 20 games this year, slow start, guys. His worst 20 games was the first 20 this year, so he was still psychologically coming out of that 2-year slump, get it? So 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points, and we'll go to the last column at the end again. So he had 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points, and I think all of us at that point would have took 20 goals from Jeff Skinner running, what we just went through the 2 seasons previous. But then 21 to 40 happens, where he gets 11 goals in that 20 games. 11 goals, 4 assists for 15 points in that set of 20. And all of a sudden, we're looking at a 30-goal guy again, we figured. Right there. That's where we knew. Then we had, and I believe it was in the third quarter, right? The third quarter where he got the 4-goal game. Anyway, I should have marked that down too. I didn't. 41 between 60, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. It's kind of what he does for his career, really, if you look at his numbers overall. But this is where I'm saying there was a much better sign this year. Between 61 and 80 games played, he had 10 goals, 12 assists for 22 points. That is 20 of the best games he's played as a Sabre, without a doubt. Probably the best 20, folks, because this 20, he was all over the place. He was physical. He was chirping. You've seen it. You've seen how nasty he was getting this year. He really came into his own, I thought, this year, especially 61 between 80. He really, really earned his money. He earned his money. And so 22 points there in that quarter. So he went from 12 to 15 to 14 to 22 to close it out. You could see the best quarter of his career in Buffalo. I wouldn't say that unless I would look at other seasons, but is there really a point, guys? The 14 and the 7-goal season? No, this is his best 20-game span as a Sabre. Right there it is, right there. The first 20 with us and his most recent 20 with us is his best 20 games. So let's look at this. This is close. He scored in 23 games. In that year, he scored in 30, okay? But if I was to break down how many games he got points in, which I should have done, I didn't, it's probably, I'm guessing this year would be just as close, just as close. He just had more assists this year than goals. That's all it was. 262 shots, he had 268. This year, 262 in 2 less games. He would have had the same amount of shots. And his shooting percentage, still excellent, 12.6. Excellent shooting percentage, still very good. Keep in mind Ovechkin, his career is like 12 and under. 28 even goals. He had 32 that year. 5 power play goals only. He had 8 that year. So the difference with that year, you know, when you think about it, it's very close, guys. It's very close. The last 20 games, he scored in 9 games. In his last 20 games, he scored in 9 of them. His last 25 games, in his first year, he only scored in 3. Let's remember that stat. So if you look and you break it down, can we really complain now about Jeff Skinner? Probably not. We didn't, remember guys, when we signed this guy, okay, we didn't sign him as a 40-goal guy. We signed him as a 30-goal guy. There is no way, I believe that, well, maybe Pegula did think it, but I don't think Pegula thought he's going to get 40 goals every season. It just wasn't in the cards if you look at his career. It's just some guys peak out and they hit that big season and then they tally off, but they still stay very good, where he crashed and burned for a few years, right? And I think under Kruger really messed him up. It really messed him up. This is proof. You know, this is under Housley and this is under Granato, 2 offensive-minded coaches, you know? And if you let this guy just do his thing and let him play his game, which I still don't get why Kruger did what he did with him. I never understood, even because of the 14 and the 7-goal season, guys, I never understood Kruger's mentality of scratching this guy, because this guy, his whole career has been a 30-goal guy. Maybe it went a little under. Well, it might have went back a little higher again this year because he had 33. And this is why I put him in my video 25 to 35, because this is what this guy is. It's what he is. He's a 25 to 35 goal guy. That's what he is. 40 might have been his career high, which is fine. It's fine. I think all of us would be happy with Skinner getting 3 more 30-goal seasons. I think that's fair to say, right? So I wanted to throw these numbers up at you just because it was bugging me and I had to make it. That's it. All right, guys, that's it for this one. I got 2 more coming your way. I'll see you in those.